Greetings, I am V3D1, and welcome to Leave It to VACCI. This is our point of view of the Fortnite score war. There was originally one clip where I once took part, but since that's been put onto DVD and deleted already, I've been demoted to the public face of the Confederacy of Independent Droids. Anyway, let's get on with the first operations.
As you may have heard, I have indeed tried to send out my first and only V3 demolition droid into the field, and as you also may have heard, she failed to even leave an impression. Although, I do feel like I should have expected that, since I programmed her with such a limited set of skills that, once she failed to find the weapons she'd been programmed to use, she was destined to screw up so badly that the only thing she can do right anymore is represent the Confederacy of Independent Droids in the intro and outro. But, that's enough about that from me. Let's move on to the operation at hand, collecting gold bars. As you may have seen, I was taken out by a pink-armored red-headed looper, who then proceeds to escape. Great Gunner gives chase, but by the time he could find a weapon and get down to her, she'd already escaped. He then moves to repair my systems, though due to being inexperienced with my design, leaves me still heavily damaged from the attack. However, I've been programmed to take everything I'm given, and adapt, so that's what I ended up doing. Once I was able to move again, I followed Great Gunner for a little bit, then made my way back to the high walls of the Coliseum, knowing that I wouldn't last long, especially in my current condition, without weapons. There was a heavy assault rifle to my left, which I picked up, as it was better than a harvesting tool, having a higher firing rate and more damage output. Great Gunner soon marks a medkit, but I move on to see if there were any other weapons to further better my chances, taking the pistol that I spotted for that exact reason, against future enemies. I soon hear gunshots, and register 5 distinct footsteps on my sonar, so I eventually decide to jump down and confront them, despite still being heavily damaged from my first encounter with an enemy. Speaking of said encounter, I meet up with the looper that had bested me near the llama, and gave chase, wanting to put her down for having attacked me earlier. My programming dictates 2 rules for me to follow: complete the mission by any means possible, and survive by any means necessary. Leaving her alive would violate my second directive, so now you know why I decided to give chase, even despite being heavily damaged. However, by the time I got to her, Great Gunner had already taken her out, alongside her allies. Still, I managed to accomplish my directive, as, despite my heavily damaged systems, I survived, and I'm still able to complete my other directive. Here I spot a shockwave grenade right next to a suppressed submachine gun, and at first I thought the SMG was of purple rarity. However, I soon come to realize, to my chagrin, that it was only common. I pick up the nearby blue pistol to both replace my common one and make up for the disappointment that was the common SMG.
I just used a chug
Great
splash
Gunner
by
then
accident
hits me
and
with a
hit
chug
you, and I'm
splash,
taking a
a
medkit, and I know where
substance
another
so
medkit is.
miraculous that
never
it
mind.
partially repaired my systems with just that one application.
I'll chug
I
splash
then
as soon as you
apply
take
the
that medkit.
medkit, which miraculously fully repaired my systems within 10 seconds. I
Yeah, I
then
have the
requested that
game.
Great Gunner hit me with more chug splashes, as I'd heard that you can gain a shield if you hit yourself with one at full health.
I see what
or
you
in my
mean.
case, with fully
That's
repaired
weird.
systems. Anyway, Gunner sees what I was talking about when I told him the shockwave grenade and common SMG in the same spot, giving the illusion of a purple SMG, though it's not as noticeable from this angle. He then marks a blue suppressed SMG, which I eagerly take, as due to my frequently evolving programming, I was willing to experiment with it to further improve my chances at completing my objectives while surviving. We make our way to the arena of the Coliseum, jumping down to search the place for weapons, medical or system repair supplies, or enemies. Despite finding neither, we did complete this clip's mission. As such, we are getting close to the end of this clip, so I believe it's just about time to continuation from the previous clip. This one focuses on the mission to outlast opponents. In other words, from here, you'll get to see how the whole rest of the round plays out. Anyway, as I apply the shield potion, Great Gunner harvests wood from the surrounding structures to use as makeshift cover for when we are attacked, though his version of cover happens to be large, erratically built towers, ramps, and bridges. However, it seems to work, as you'll find out in both this round and the next. Also, for some reason, Great Gunner loved rapidly switching from his weapon to his harvesting tool. It is interesting that, for all his quirks, Great Gunner is an advanced looper, and clearly one that needed to be treated with caution, whether he was a friend of Mardi Jester's or not. As Mardi Jester trusts him, I've decided to as well. Maybe he can get me through the circuit-frying circumstances of being abducted by some blonde-haired man, and then tasked with keeping loopers from leaving the island. We then approached what seemed like some form of sheriff's office. Then Great Gunner finds and fires at something strange in the sand, drawing my attention. I investigated what he was shooting at, but either he'd already destroyed it, or I couldn't see it from this distance or angle. We then enter the building itself, Gunner accepting a bounty target from the sheriff within. Now tasked with eliminating a looper, we prepared, Great Gunner smashing furniture for more wood. I would say it would be better to not mess anything up and stay on the sheriff's good side, but these people don't seem to mind property damage that much, as long as you don't harm the person themselves. I look over the desert sands, trying to see if I could spot that easily recognizable yellow cap and red hair. While part of me wants to say I would have alerted Great Gunner once I saw her, another would say I'd have switched to either my heavy assault rifle or lever action rifle had she been far enough away, and tried to eliminate her myself. Another thing that fries my circuits is trying to figure out how this desert has purple, pointy crystals jutting out where sand dunes would normally be. I'm used to deserts with huge sand dunes, desert villages, and cacti and dead bushes dotted everywhere you looked. I glossed over it a little, but I picked up a green assault rifle to replace my common heavy assault rifle, ready to see if this weapon was better, despite having not tried the heavy assault rifle at all. We eventually came across an enemy looper, which Great Gunner fired at. As Great Gunner fought that opponent, I picked up a strange crystal and crushed it in my hand. Not understanding what it could do, I moved up beside Great Gunner and got ready to fight. When I spotted them, as if by instinct, I used the crystals to dash over to them, and fired upon them with my pistol, helping Gunner to knock them out with one last shot. Then Gunner starts taking fire from behind, stating that his assailant had a mythic revolver. We would later learn that it's actually an exotic scoped revolver dubbed the Nighthawk, but for now, we only knew it as a mythic revolver. After having been sniped from behind whilst searching a chest, I built some cover, and prepared to fire back at the opponent that did damage my systems again. Unfortunately, they caught me off guard once more, and critically damaged my systems, dropping me onto my hands and knees. Due to our assailants still being around us, I was forced to watch helplessly as Gunner fought them off. The man in a Christmas tree costume eventually decides to finish me off with an assault rifle, leaving only him, his teammate, and Gunner to fight. However, he's too smart to just stay out in the open, annoying Gunner greatly. I can applaud such a strategy myself, since my programming orders me to survive if possible. Gunner tries to goad him out in the open, but when that doesn't work, he forces him into the open by destroying his structure, then knocks him down shortly afterwards. After briefly searching for his teammate, Gunner then finishes Masked Nu 336,735 off. Gunner then goes to collect his loot, hide under a ramp, and drink small shield potions. As he does so, he tells me that I may have helped him survive the encounter, though how I was much help while critically damaged, I'll never know. He then throws down a shockwave grenade, launching himself into the air. Due to the tricky nature of the shockwave grenade, his plan to build while soaring through the air didn't work as planned, so he went to collect my card,
with the best camper in the world. I don't think that's a good idea.
In the process. In a very short scuffle, Gunner is
no offense on that, but I'm just saying, I play with the, what I meant to say is, I play with the best hider in the world. I don't think that's a good idea.
He collects my reboot card and Masked Nu's loot. Among that loot just so happens to be the aforementioned Nighthawk scoped revolver. Gunner takes it, most likely due to its thermal scope and high damage output. Gunner then moves on to collect his shockwave grenades back up, looks back only to see the storm coming right for him, then throws down a shockwave grenade, soaring through the air once more. As the shockwave grenade didn't propel Gunner completely into the next predicted eye of the storm, Gunner then breaks one of the strange desert crystals, crushes the shard that comes out in his hand, then uses the power of the mysterious shard to escape the storm. Despite having used the power of the shard myself, I still ask what it does, and Gunner continues to use its power to dash into the predicted eye. He later smashes yet another desert crystal, a slow process that takes 7 grilling seconds to complete. He then crushes up 2 shards, and resumes using their power to reach the predicted eye.
I should have just picked up that sniper, but I like the Nighthawk more than the Storm Scout. Even though it is reliable.
He prefers the Nighthawk, calling it a more reliable weapon. He also tells me he's also
I'm about to get Lexa.
gained the loyalty of a bounty hunter going by the name Lexa. Little did I know that same hunter would be a key player in my mission to keep loopers on the island. But more about that later. Just as Gunner made it a few short meters from the predicted eye, the power of both shards ran out, one by one.
True.
Regardless, Gunner travels the rest of the distance by the then current fastest way to travel on foot. This brings him into Hunter's Haven, which I'd assume is meant to house the hunters the strange blonde-haired man also abducted, though the only hunter we ever see there is Lexa, the hunter Gunner mentioned shortly ago. Gunner hides in a bush, despite there being no other loopers nearby. Still, I most likely would have, as well, as there is no such thing as being too careful on this island. The only exception is putting too much focus on avoiding enemy loopers, and not enough on the storm, or vice versa. Since he'll hide in this bush a while longer, let me elaborate why 7 seconds is long and grueling. In those 7 seconds, the storm is steadily approaching Gunner, and, at any second, an enemy looper could start attacking him again, making
what are the odds that he doesn't
a very
check the
short
bushes?
amount of time into a painfully long, panic-filled endeavor. As the enemy looper attempts to camp the reboot van, Gunner shoots them with the Nighthawk, nailing them with a headshot. Due to this, the second shot knocks them down to the ground, as helpless as I was during my battle against Masked Blue and Nucor. As there's less than a minute left in this clip, I predict Gunner will lose this fight, as the nearby IO guards are shooting him as well. Still, Gunner gives it all he's got left, building like a maniac, and drinking small shield potions to better his chances against this new foe. However, as I predicted, Gunner loses to them,
You're a
ending my
booger
run,
eater.
and this clip.
He's a booger eater. I'll be right back.
The previous round's performance was impressive. You haven't seen anything yet. In this round, I take outlasting opponents to the next level. If you guessed that means that we won, you would be correct. This is a continuation round of a clip that was deleted after it was put onto DVD some time ago. We landed in Misty Meadows while at least part of the island was being covered by snow. This was a winter season after all. When I got to the door, I detected the enemy looper outside, and got ready to fight, as that was one of only 2 options. The other is to run, which is highly discouraged on this island, as you usually end up getting destroyed anyway. Forgetting the looper had went upstairs, my decision changed from fighting to getting supplies, and simply watching for the looper, ready to blast them at a moment's notice. Despite that, I let them live when Gunner asks me to carry a shield potion for him again, which he'd asked me to do some time ago. I make my way to it, paying attention to my sonar in case the looper decided to attack me from behind. Once I reach the shield potion, I instead drink it myself, getting my shield up to 100%. I'm programmed to survive by any means necessary, and I would be violating my programming if I didn't drink that, so don't even start. Anyway, once my shield is up to 100%, I start surveying the town for more threats, and Gunner finds another shield potion for me to carry, which I obliged to, replacing my small shield potion. I ask him to hold on to the small shield potion, since I was in charge of the bigger jar, but he already had a stack of 6, any more than that would take up another slot in his inventory. And I don't know how he likes to use his inventory spaces, but holding more than 6 small shield potions doesn't seem to appeal to him in the slightest. I watch out for threats around him while he talks to Condor, who apparently upgrades weapons, as Gunnar has him upgrade his tactical shotgun, his AK, which I'm guessing is a heavy assault rifle, and suppressed SMG, all as high as they would go. Once he finishes his upgrading spree, he then destroys the nearby RV for metal, which is the strongest material you can build out of. It's not flammable, and can take a lot of punishment. Then Gunnar is called to run an errand for a little while, so I enter into his box to try to protect him from enemy loopers that would try to attack him. After all, I'm still reeling from being activated, only to see a different face than what I'm used to, so I'm still dependent on Gunnar to help me through this circuit-frying time. Knowing the fight ahead would most likely be close-ranged, I switch to my tactical shotgun, and prepare for battle should even the slightest need arise. Since Gunnar takes 33 seconds from the start of his building that box, I guess I could pass the time by explaining how I got to this point, and why I was most likely chosen to even keep loopers on this island. That's simple. During a test of multiple V1 infantry droids, I was the only one to survive in the Sky Wars division. Not only that, but I was also the only one to survive any test, whether it be in Sky Wars, survival games, or Bed Wars. When he returned, he asked if I could drop him AR ammo, so I dropped him medium bullets, knowing that was the closest thing to what he was asking for. It takes him a good 7 seconds to notice I dropped him ammo, but once he does, he picks it up, thanking me in the process. He then attempts to make me float, even though we're low to the ground, so it wouldn't look like I was floating, so I don't know what his logic was here. However, it wasn't my job to question him, it was my job to keep loopers from escaping the island, and to help Gunnar do the same. Once the storm starts moving once more, I edit a door into the box Gunnar built, then we make our way to the next predicted eye. To expedite the process, we hijack a whiplash, and Gunnar drives it off the icy cliff at full speed. We use the momentum to cross the lake onto the island in the middle. This ends up killing our momentum, so we had to try to get back up to our former speed. Then when that proved impossible, we slowly crossed the lake again, getting onto the main part of the island on the other side. As you may have heard, the effort drained the Whiplash's fuel tank, so our ride will soon be cut short. However, we were close to the eye anyway, so we still managed to accomplish this car's mission effortlessly. Just outside of said eye, Gunnar started harvesting wood from nearby trees, getting ready for the fights ahead. As I've mentioned before, I consider Gunnar an advanced looper, so I don't even question his building style. Whatever is effective for keeping our fellow loopers in line is alright by me. Despite the storm once again closing in on us, I entered into this house, searching for weapons, ammo, medical supplies, or an enemy looper to take down. However, before I could find much more than a med kit, the storm caught up to us, forcing us the rest of the way into the eye. Fortunately, the predicted eye was right next to us as I said, so it wasn't too hard to keep the storm's damages to my systems to a minimum. Once in the eye, I walked through a swarm of fireflies, which I later come back to and investigate, due to no such creatures existing where I came from. I then go back into bodyguard mode, watching for threats as Gunnar chopped down more trees. Once he finishes, we swim across the river, and Gunnar points out that we need to move on to the next predicted eye once more. I pull up my map to see how far it is to at this time, and note that said I would be at the northeastern part of the island, between steamy stacks and dirty docks. We had a minute and 16 seconds before the storm started moving again, plus however long it took to catch up to us, which, due to the distance from us, and being the side of the storm that had to go the fastest to meet the time estimate of traveling to the eye, wasn't very long at all. Fortunately, the closer we got to the future eye, the more of a head start we had on the storm, and the less danger we were in once it decided to close in the next 48 seconds. However, as I said before, we're racing against the side of the storm that would be moving the fastest, so we couldn't rest on our laurels quite yet. In a very short scuffle, we eliminated an enemy looper, and collected their supplies. Despite investigating her loot, and Gunner pointing out a more powerful heavy assault and sniper rifles, all I really collected was her wood. Once I was finished, I passed by a looper-built structure with a bouncer within, which we watched bounce them safely closer into the next eye of the storm earlier. Ignoring that, we decided to continue to make our way into the eye, sliding down the slope in the process. Gunner crosses the river ahead of me, going as fast as any looper can to reach the eye before the storm could catch us. I pick up the nearby chug splashes, my programming urging me to repair my systems urgently. This only takes one splash, then I swim across the river to the other side. We continue to make our way into the eye, my systems now fully repaired, and my shields holding at 100%. However, if there's anything I've been taught during my time as a glorified military police officer, it's that you never get complacent, or else the destruction that happened last time will repeat itself. At this point, we've engaged our next opponent in battle, the looper building swiftly and erratically. However, this is effective at keeping them from getting shot by either of us, and Gunner is ultimately the only one who can do anything about it. And do something he does. He orders me to break the supports keeping this structure standing, which makes the structure collapse, taking our opponent down with it. Obviously hurt very badly by the fall, it doesn't take too much longer to eliminate the looper, foiling any attempt made by them of leaving the island. To add insult onto injury, we take his weapons, myself spotting a better tactical shotgun than the one I helped eliminate the looper with. After a long and thoughtful internal debate of the pros and cons of getting a better AK, I eventually decided that the pros outweighed the cons this time, and took it. The only reason for this, however, is that, while I generally prefer what the loopers refer to as a SCAR, neither that or any other fast-firing assault rifle were present, so I had to make do with a powerful, yet slightly slower firing AK, but that's better than nothing. And given I had a mission to do and my survival in mind, I wasn't just going to wander around this war zone unarmed. As we near either another river or another bend of the same river we'd crossed before, I use my last chug splash to better my chances of getting out of the storm in one piece. I then enter the river, swimming with the current to the other bank. Upon hitting land once more, I and Gunner spot a distant ramp, and make haste to go after it. Knowing with that distance that only an enemy had time to build that, I take out my lever action rifle, and start firing it at the first enemy looper I saw. In yet another short scuffle, these loopers are no more, and we move in to check out what weapons, ammo, building materials, and medical supplies they had. Speaking of SCAR, that's exactly what one of the enemy loopers had, and I take it without a second thought. With both of us slightly damaged from the fight, Gunner offers to splash us both with chug splashes, which I eagerly accept due to my survival programming. We then search the nearby structure for more opponents, confident in our ability to win. When we get close enough to what is essentially a car equivalent of a graveyard, Gunner notices a speech bubble appear on our mini-map, and, remembering that a droid named Dummy frequented this area, Gunner makes the decision to rush to the compacted cars excitedly, and proceeds to buy a powerful shotgun that can send both the user and their target flying. While crouching, this weapon, named the Dub, would be excellent for high-altitude combat, as it could send an opponent flying off a platform without walls to their death. However, if the opponent can think to crouch to avoid the same fate, only the power of the weapon would be devastating, and that shotgunners, very powerful. Anyway, once our business is finished in compact cars, we move on the rest of the way into the eye. As part of the eye surrounded what was essentially a nuclear power plant, one of the first sights we saw within the eye were huge pylons and long power lines that were connected to them. If you were daring enough, you could safely zipline across these power lines. Just a word of warning, this was, in no way, realistic, so if I have to tell you that it's deadly to try and even climb on these power lines in real life, then I don't know what to tell you. As we approach this hill, Gunner cresting over it first, we meet up with our next pair of opponents. As I made my way to his side, He and some
And
IO
that just
guards finish off the
them.
pair Gunner
Yeah,
engaged.
they
I
just killed them
watched,
both.
with rifle trained on, the pair of opponents near this IO elevator, but eventually decided to leave them alone. Mostly because I'm not used enough to these futuristic weapons to try to snipe an opponent solo with them. Prior to this, the only automatic weapon I knew of was Mardi Jester's redstone-powered Gatling gun, and the only long-ranged weapon I knew of was a bow. That's it. Still, due to an update to my software, I learned about them a lot quicker than I expected, and the automatic weapons became the quickest weapons I got used to, followed by the lever-action rifle. Speaking of my lever-action rifle, we engaged another pair in battle, myself sniping at them with my lever-action rifle. This ends much like every other battle, the short scuffle ending in our favor. I told you from the start that we won, so this should not be any surprise to you. This was, however, a slightly longer scuffle due to me missing most of my shots. But, regardless, it didn't take long to finally put them down. Like the scavengers we were, we then rushed to their weapons, materials, and ammo, Gunner announcing that he found a gold scar. Once we finished looting the bodies, Gunner makes a critical error when firing his dart, nearly knocking himself down in the process. When he asks me for meds, I revealed to him that when he asked me to carry the shield potions, I had to swap them with some med kits, so all I had in terms of medical supplies were the shield potions. However, he assured me that it was all right, and we moved on, making medical supplies a high priority on the search list for his sake. Despite having nearly knocked himself out, he kept using the dub to propel himself into the next eye, though not as many times, nor at as steep angles as he did when he made that mistake. So suffice it to say, I think he learned something from it. As we made our way to the supply drop up ahead, Gunner spots another opponent, and, obsessed with getting his first ever double pump kill with the dub, pursues the opponent into the now mostly engulfed dirty docks. With 43 seconds left on the clock, it's safe to say that this will be the final showdown of the round. I search for the opponent, partially to help Gunner, but also to ensure my own safety. I move in, rushing behind the brick building in the distance to try and find him, hitting him with my lever-action rifle once I do before Gunner begs me to let him get the final kill. I then try to rein in my survival programming to allow him to get the kill. I watch from a distance as Gunner fights our opponent, trying his darnedest to kill him with the dub, finally succeeding a few moments later. Like I said before, I was mostly in it to protect my own existence, so I still succeed.
Well, that seems to be all the time we have for today. Join us in the next episode when we destroy toilets, damage vehicles, destroy enemy structures, hit weak points while harvesting, and reboot teammates. In the meantime, thanks for watching, we hope you enjoyed, and we will see you all next time. Until then, farewell.